I've seen a number of videos on YouTube about how does the electric car handle in the cold, and there are people from um, places where they consider cold about freezing. Well, I just started to warm up my Chevy Bolt out there. It is currently minus 40 degrees outside, Celsius or Fahrenheit, it's the same number. And so I decided I'm going to see how it goes, since this is quite a new car to me. So I just started it to warm up. And I'm going to do what many people do when they warm up their vehicles in the winter. I'm going to wait until I see the windows start to clear a bit, because you can see it's a bit frosty. So let's see how long that takes.
I warmed up the car for about 10 minutes. You can see here that the total usage of power during that time drawn from the battery was 1.6 kilowatt hours, and the battery condition consumed 80% of that, or 1.3, and the climate settings was the other 0.3. The fan was only set to 2, so it wasn't heating up the cabin as much as it might otherwise, so it wasn't drawing as much power there, and the temperature was minus 29. You can see it's currently drawing 4 kilowatt hours, which suggests the lower amount of cabin heating, and that the estimated range is 181 kilometers at the 80% charge that we had it set to. So I'm going to go out for a drive, and we'll provide a couple of updates along the way. Our normal commute is about 4 kilometers, so this is why I stopped here to take a picture, and you can see that we use 2.9 kilowatt hours traveling this distance, and that the battery is still a significant portion of that. It remains at 1.3, so it hasn't used any more. Climate's up to 0.8, and the drive is 0.8. At this point, I also turned the climate to auto, so the fan did kick up, so we will be using more energy after this for the fan than we have been up to this point. This next stop is by the airport, where the official temperatures were read, and notice that the car is now reading minus 35. Our energy usage for this point of time is 5.7, and 1.5 of that is for battery conditioning, so it's up a little bit from our last stop. Climate's now at 2, and driving is at 2.2. The guessometer, as you'll see, is now showing 15 kilometers less than what our original estimate was, and our draw on the power is significantly higher with the higher usage of climate at 8 kilowatts. The other thing to note is that the regen is no longer green there, so the battery is no longer at its optimal temperature like it was when I left home. I've made it home. When I went to the airport, I drove through the city, and when I drove home, I came back through the freeway, which has a higher speed, obviously. And so you can see that the distance is quite a bit more, and the energy usage is up to 11.2 total. 1.8 of that is batteries, so that's a bit more still than previously. 3.7 is climate, and 5.7 is driving, so just over 50% driving. The guessometer is reading 19 kilometers less than at the very beginning of this trip, and you'll see that our energy usage is still reasonably high. The car still hasn't totally warmed up inside. I did turn off the climate change to just show you that the guessometer will jump up a reasonable amount there, and the power usage has dropped right down to 1 kilowatt. So the climate really does make a difference in terms, especially in these kinds of temperatures. And even driving, the battery conditioning was still using a bit of energy once the battery cooled down a little bit from its initial start.